Mavs ended up pulling it off, and Luka talked about his feelings about advancing in the playoffs for the first time in his career.
It's happiness, man. I think we worked really hard to get here. I think we deserve to get past first round, and everybody fight their ass off today. I think we didn't play good today, but everybody was fighting, everybody was staying together, and just keeping everybody together was the key to win this game.
I'm happy for Luka.
Yeah, it's a fun story.
This is good for the NBA that he's moved on.
Fun
Nothing
story.
against the Jazz, and I honestly felt for the Jazz that was a heartbreaking loss. Mike Conley traveled at the end. He's an amazing player. Just a mistake. And then Bojan Bogdanovic had an opportunity to hit the shot for the game winner with 4.3 seconds left, but missed it. So they had an opportunity at the end there, but the Mavs are an exciting team. Luka is a marquee player in the NBA. For him to move on to the second round, I think it's important for the league and for Luka and for Luka's development and growth. Yes. Was a really, really, really fun game last night. So the Mavs open the series against the Suns on currently 6-point underdogs in Game 1, according to Fox Bet. They're also underdogs to win the series at plus 225. The Sixers, obviously, as you mentioned, closed out with Toronto. They'll play the Heat Game 1 on Monday night in Miami. And the Heat are currently favored by 4.5 to win the game and by minus 189 to win the series.
Good stuff. Joy with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Line News.
So I got to talk about the Cowboys. When you have one of these big brands, Ohio State football, Cowboys, Lakers, Yankees, people often say, you guys talk about them even when they're not good. You're right. There's a reason. The Cowboys are usually the highest rated telecast on ever to be traded. And he's an erratic player who didn't play well at the end of the year and wanted to be traded. First of all, the Ravens may have had the best first round of anybody. They got the best safety and the best center at like mid-draft and late draft. By the way, they got Lamar end of the first round, so they're pretty good at the draft thing. The Ravens have built up a ton of equity with me over the years. They're always well-owned, always smartly run. They're really, honestly, it's amazing the Steelers and the Ravens are right next to each other. They are brilliantly run organizations. They built up a lot of equity to me, and Lamar Jackson's not a general manager. He's a young quarterback. So they wanted to sign him, and I think his mom is his agent. He doesn't want to sign a contract, and they're like, okay, we're going to protect ourselves here, and we think this is best for the team. And again, your resume in life is going to dictate how I view you. If you've been a good person, a stable person, a smart person, all right, well, I'm a guess. Yeah, you're making moves best for the franchise. I saw a story the other day on Bitcoin, where like 90% of the people who invest in Bitcoin, like are renters, are megalomaniacs. Yeah, it's brand new. I don't trust your judgment. I'll go with a guy that's been in the real estate business in Wall Street for 40 years and made a great living. I'm sorry. I trust the Ravens here. Hollywood Brown's an erratic wide receiver that didn't have a great end of the season. He wasn't happy and he wanted to get traded, and so they moved him. This is the reality. By the way, the Ravens hit a home run in the first round. They have 9 more picks, and it's a deep wide receiver draft. I say this all the time. If you're a good person and make a mistake on social media, I take a deep breath and go, all right, I believe they're a good person. What we have now in society is people are jerks, do one nice thing and we think they're nice, or they're wonderful people and make a mistake and the Ravens know what they're doing. They always know what they're doing. They always draft well. They always acquire well. Last year, they were the most beat-up team in the National Football League. It was crazy. I don't know what the number was. It was like 35 guys were on IR, and they were still viable because they draft well. They were still, marginally viable in a really good division that had a team make the Super Bowl. So in this instance, I don't think it's a big story. Lamar's a kid, won't sign a contract. Sometimes businesses have a right to go, we're good here, and we're gonna do what we think is best for the team. I think what they really realize is they're gonna get back to their roots here and got a good center, gonna pound the football a little bit, like to play with a lead, control the clock. That's when I think it's best for Lamar Jackson. But by the way, the division now has Deshaun Watson and Joe Burrow. And Lamar doesn't want to sign a long-term contract. I could see Baltimore saying, if we don't get this quarterback thing, well, are we going to be a third, fourth place team? I mean, what if Kenny Pickett works? What if the Steelers hit a home run? So I'm on the Ravens side on this one. Joy with the news.
No. Turn on the news. This is the Herd Line News.
Well, the number 1 overall pick last night was Trayvon Walker, and there were a couple questions about who the Jags would select with the first overall pick. And Doug Peterson was asked how they decided to go with Trayvon Walker.
There was a lot of pre-draft speculation that you, Trent, favored Trayvon, and that you, Doug, favored the offensive lineman, Ekwonu. Could you talk a little bit about how you arrived at this decision? I mean, did you guys actually have some disagreement about this?
Can I just stop you?
Yeah.
There was never, this thing was never split.
Okay, I'm not saying not saying it was. I'm just saying that.
I know it's out, and I just want to just go out on record and say it was never that way. I don't know where that came from.
There was also some talk, and we think we talked about it yesterday, that the owner was leaning towards Hutchinson and that Balky wanted Walker. But I also think there's conversations that go on, and people, are going to fight for the guy that they think should be the pick, and that's the coach is going to have their opinion, and the GM's going to have their opinion, and I'm sure the owner has their opinion, and whoever makes the final say, or you guys come to an agreement. So I could see these things leaking out. There was not a standalone consensus number one pick in the way that it was Joe Burrow or we've had in past drafts. So I could see this being a conversation.
Georgia had 5 defensive players taken.
Yeah, so, Georgia had a nice draft.
So, first of all, we said last year we thought the Georgia defense was as good as any defense you and I had ever seen, and we're college football fans.
Yes.
It was as good as any Saban defense.
They were visibly better than everyone.
Significantly faster than any college team I'd seen. They had 5 guys drafted last night, all on defense. And my takeaway is he great? Was the supporting cast great? You can do worse things than drafting Georgia guys. I'll give you an example. Last year, the Packers, I think it was last year, took Stokes, the corner from Georgia, and it got a lot of pushback. And I watched him, and I was like, I don't know. That guy looks like potentially amazing. Georgia's had a reputation forever. There's been a reputation in the NFL forever that draft Georgia guys and figure it out later. It's like LSU and Georgia.
Yes. Yeah.
They may not win the national titles like Bama, but Georgia and LSU on any given year have better players than Alabama. They haven't always had the best coach. They've had less coaching stability.
And that really matters in college football.
But Georgia and LSU are often, even in Nick Saban's run here, have as good or better players. So, I'm never going to lose a ton of sleep on drafting a Georgia guy first, although wouldn't have been my pick. But I get it.
Yeah, it's not an outrage. No one saw that and was outraged by it and thought this was a huge swing. You can have your opinion about each guy, and everyone has their evaluations, and who knows how it's going to work out. Generally, if you're picking at the top of the draft, it's because you're not a good team, and sometimes that factors into how players' careers end up stacking up over the first few years in the league also. Aiden Hutchinson went second. He was rumored to possibly go there first. Walker was reportedly in a serious car accident 2 weeks ago as well, but he suffered no injuries, thank God.
He looked good on the couch. It looked like he was fine, right?
Yeah. So, look, I'm very excited for Jacksonville this year, which is a very rare thing, but I think we got sort of robbed of Trevor Lawrence last year. We didn't talk about him at all. It was all just chaos down there and drama. So I'm giving him a pass on his first year. And I'm excited to see with the pieces that they've brought in, and now that what they'll do with the rest of this draft, to see how Doug Peterson puts everything together down there and see if they can turn that around. Because I do want to see Trevor Lawrence have success. He was such an exciting player in college. I want to see him have some success in the NFL, and he's going to need to start with a culture build in Jacksonville. Yeah. So, USC, Drake London, number 8 overall pick to the Falcons last night. He was the first wide receiver taken off the board. Had an ankle fracture, but that didn't stop him from being selected in the top 10. He was the highest drafted wideout by Atlanta since Julio Jones in 2011. Pac-12 Offensive Player of the Year last season. Obviously, the wide receiver position has become a very marquee position, a lot drafted last night, and the Falcons had the worst ranked wide receiver core entering the draft, so this was obviously a position of need for them, and they have Kyle Pitts that can line up opposite London. I thought this was a great pick for Atlanta. The right choice.
Yeah, and we talked about this yesterday. I thought Seattle, Carolina, and Atlanta could have all drafted a quarterback. And instead, with their first picks, they said, listen, we're going to set it up for next. Now, they may all go get a quarterback in the second round. But what they said is, we're not going to reach.
Right.
When we go draft a quarterback next year, we want to get a little more solid. So Carolina's like, we're going to go get this. And Atlanta's like, we're going to get a star receiver. And Carolina's like, we're going to get an offensive lineman. And I think that was the right call. It looks like NFL GMs didn't love either quarterback.
Right.
It's pretty clear. And by the way, I saw the mock draft for today, and the rest of the quarterbacks all go today, and all go, Joy, in the top 15, 20 picks. So they don't exactly go to the better teams.
Which is scary.
Yeah, that's right. So less talented quarterbacks to more chaotic teams. So I think Kenny Pickett got really lucky.
I think, yes, absolutely. And look, for all the critics of like Kenny Pickett's hands and all that, he played at Pitt. University of Pittsburgh is located in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It's cold there. You know where they play their home games? Heinz Field, where the Steelers play.
Yeah.
There's not a huge adjustment there. He's going to move apartments to a nicer one.
Yeah.
That's the move. It's so, what are you guys talking about? Like a cold weather team. He played in Pittsburgh.
By the way, it was a 4-year. I think he was a 4-year strider. He put up numbers for 3 years, but I think he's literally old. He's a 24-year-old kid.
Yeah, he went where he went in the draft for a reason. Like he's flawed as all of these quarterbacks are. That's why the draft went the way it did.
Yeah.
But that is just like I saw that on Twitter from a bunch of people. I'm like, do you guys know where he played college football? In the building he's going to be playing professional football.
Yeah.
Weirdos. Anyway, the Mavs were able to close out the series against the Jazz last night with a 98-96 win. Quite a sports night last night.
It was. I was watching Doc Rivers. I was so happy for Doc Rivers. That game was close in the first half, and I thought to myself, "Oh, don't do this." And then the third quarter, boom.
Yeah, it was over quickly in the second half. But this game was not. This was in a very exciting game. They had an opportunity to win it. Did the Jazz last